Russia has been ramping up its bombing of civilian areas, and they've captured at least one major city in South Ukraine. But despite seeing their country decimated by the Russian military, the Ukrainian people have still shown some remarkable compassion. And believe it or not, they've shown it to the Russian soldiers themselves.
Among all the chaos in Ukraine, humanity still prevails. This video going viral this morning appearing to show Ukrainians helping a captured Russian soldier, giving him tea and food, and allowing him to call his mother to tell her that he's okay. You see him right there in the hat? The soldier is seen fighting back tears, apparently telling his mom he didn't want to be there. Ukrainians on social media are telling Russian soldiers if they surrender, people will feed them and take care of them.
Wow. Look, man, I don't know all of them, but right now Ukrainians seem like some of the best people in the world. They're standing up to one of the biggest militaries on the planet. And on top of that, they've captured an invading soldier and they're giving him food and drink. You don't see humanity like that in war. In fact, you don't even see humanity like that on Twitter. Yeah, like one time I said hot dogs weren't sandwiches and I still get death threats to this day. I mean, look at that soldier. Just look at him. Like, they're giving him sustenance and letting him FaceTime his mom. Do you know what that means? Like, you know you're being treated humanely when the worst part of being a prisoner of war is trying to get your mom off the phone. Yes, I am safe, mom. Yeah. No, I didn't hear about Linda at the office. Yeah, listen, mom, I have to go. I'm still in war zone. Yeah. Yes, I know they were only together for 8 months. It is surprising, mom. Yes. I told you, mom, when I find someone, I'll get married. Yes, mom. I mean, think about it. Just think about it for a second. Free tea, free food, free Wi-Fi. Huh? Yeah, Russian prisoners are getting better service than passengers on Spirit Airlines. Spirit Airlines, you'll wish you were a prisoner of war. Meanwhile, the rest of the world continues to rally behind the Ukrainian people. And it's not just big steps, like more sanctions on Russian oligarchs or the International Criminal Court investigating Russia for war crimes. No, lots of places and lots of people you might not have even heard of, by the way, or not even thought of, are turning to Russia and saying, "Niet."
EA Sports is now removing Russian teams from some of its biggest sports games. They include NHL 22, FIFA 22, FIFA Online, and FIFA Mobile.
The Russian flag removed at Miami International Airport. Miami-Dade County Mayor Daniela Levine Cava gave the order this morning in solidarity with Ukraine.
The International Cat Federation has banned Russian cats from competition. Officials announced the rule against any cat belonging to Russian breeders or exhibitors, saying they could not, quote, witness these atrocities and do nothing.
Wow. Even the International Cat Federation is turning against Russia, which, by the way, I didn't even know existed. I don't know about you, but I did not know. And honestly, I'd be worried about pissing off the cat people. I mean, they take that shit seriously. You think Putin is scary? Imagine a Russian Carol Baskin. Hello, cool cats and kittens. And look, it is great. It is great that everyone is showing solidarity against Russia, but even cats are getting banned? Like, it's wild. Cats. I mean, where does it go next? At this point, I wouldn't be shocked if Donald Trump comes out and he's like, from now on, I will only get peed on by Ukrainian women. We're all in this together. I'm doing my part. And EA Sports, EA Sports is taking Russian teams out of their video games. But Ukraine wants them to go even further, right? They're calling on video game companies to boycott Russia entirely. No games. Turn it off. Fortnite, Warzone, everything. Turn it off. And if you ask me, that's the opposite of what they should be doing. Yeah, if you want to disrupt the Russian war effort, don't turn off the games. You should send everyone in Russia a free copy of Elden Ring. Or stop the war dead in its tracks. Yeah, good luck invading when you're spending 40 hours just to get past the first boss. Is he an old man? Is he a tree? How is he so hard to fight? So yes, video game companies, airports, the cat community, everyone is coming together to do their part to show Russia that what they're doing is not cool. And one of the many reasons that this is not cool is not just because Russia is bombing a peaceful country that did nothing to antagonize them. No, it's also because by doing this, they've unleashed one of the worst humanitarian crises that Europe has ever seen.
This Russian invasion is leading to another emergency unfolding at this hour, the humanitarian crisis just across Ukraine's borders.
The United Nations Refugee Agency says at least 1 million Ukrainians have fled to neighboring countries, and that millions more could soon join them.
Tonight, the crush to flee Ukraine. We were in this tunnel at the train station in Lviv. Refugees packed so tightly they could only shuffle forward. Parents clutching their children's hands.
There've got to be 1,000 people in this tunnel right now, all of them pushing their way towards the last track here.
A railway spokesperson saying every hour, 5,000 to 10,000 more people arrive at the Lviv station in western Ukraine.
Ukrainians are queuing for up to 20 hours trying to cross the border. Officials say this humanitarian crisis is only going to get worse.
This exodus we're seeing from Ukraine is the biggest number of people displaced in Europe in the shortest amount of time since World War II.
God damn it, Vladimir Putin. Just imagine, one day you're living a normal, peaceful, modern life, and the next day you're trekking to the Romanian border on foot. Just think about that for a second, right? We think the world has ended when our Wi-Fi goes down. These people don't know if they'll ever get to go home. One of the major costs of war is how many people get displaced. They have their lives totally uprooted. Like, we all think war is like Call of Duty. You know, you run in, you shoot, and then you reboot. But for most people, it's more like Oregon Trail. Less exciting, much harder, and way more depressing. And I think we can all agree that it's a bad thing, man. It is a bad thing when anything comes close to World War II levels, whether it's refugees, fighting, or wastelands. It's always bad. And this is what people forget about war. You know, because sometimes you hear about a war in another country, right? You hear about a war in another country and you think, oh, well, that's sad, but it's over there, so why should I care? But you should care. You should care. You know why? Because we're all interconnected in the modern age. Yeah, and that means the fallout of that war spreads all over. Whether it's the refugee crisis, or the rising gas prices, or the stock market, the ripple effects are everywhere. So in a way, Putin didn't just invade Ukraine. He's also invaded your gas tanks, right? He's invaded your grocery bill. He's invaded your social media feeds. Yeah, you just want to scroll and look at thoughts. Now instead, it's thoughts and prayers. But one glimmer of hope for these refugees is that all of Ukraine's neighboring countries are welcoming them with open arms.
Ukraine's neighbors welcoming the refugees with open arms, a warm drink and a hug in Moldova. In Slovakia, a chance to watch cartoons.
Ukrainians welcomed by Hungarian officials and aid workers. Each handed a solidarity ticket, a free seat on another train to the Hungarian capital, where more help waits.
You've got one European country after another saying that they will fast-track applications for asylum.
The European Union is talking about giving them 3 years of temporary residency so they can work, they can access benefits.
In Poland, they have opened their borders, opened their arms to as many Ukrainian refugees as will arrive.
We keep our borders open. The nationals of all countries who suffered from Russian aggression or whose life is at risk can seek shelter in my country.
Poland's commissioner to the EU personally offered to host a family of refugees in his own home in Warsaw, but the refugees had found an alternative place to stay.
This is amazing, people. All these countries in Europe have stepped up to take in all of these refugees. And what's also amazing is, if I heard correctly, the Polish commissioner to the EU offered to host a family of refugees in his home, but they said, no thanks. We found another place. I don't care what you say, that's gotta hurt. Yeah, you think you're helping refugees and they're like, wow, so is that your kitchen? It's only been 8 days, my standards haven't dropped that much. But still, seeing these refugees being greeted with open arms and full hearts, it gives me a glimmer of hope in this world, you know? To see like people helping people in need. I mean, it is interesting though that Eastern Europe has been so willing and able to accept 1 million people coming into their countries in just a few days, when just recently, they didn't seem to have any space for a different group of refugees.
The humanitarian crisis in Europe continues to grow and increasingly expose fault lines, hundreds of thousands of refugees streaming in from Syria and elsewhere. But as the arguing continues, so does the suffering.
As Europe struggles for a solution, refugees forced to zigzag from one country to another with no clear path.
The EU has effectively paid Turkey to keep Syrians from getting to Greece.
Poland had pledged to take in a number of the refugees, saying now that it is not going to do that.
We will not be receiving migrants from the Middle East and North Africa in Poland.
This is Hungary's solution to the flood of refugees pouring in, a 13-foot fence topped with razor wire. running about 115 miles along its border with Serbia.
Police in riot gear told they can shoot rubber bullets at anyone who tries to cross.
Hostility here in Hungary. Video shocking the world. The Hungarian camerawoman kicking that girl as she runs from police. And this, as a man runs by carrying a small child, she trips him and he falls to the ground.
Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban had a message for the migrants themselves.
The moral human thing is to make clear, please don't come.
That's really strange. When it's Syrians who are fleeing a war, it's all, we do not have space, do not come. But now there's space and people must come? What changed? I mean, when the Syrians needed refuge, even the camera crew was drop-kicking families. Yeah, but now Ukrainians are getting accommodation, they're getting visas, they're getting work benefits, which, by the way, is good. It is a good thing. But I'm just saying, where's their drop-kick? And look, we don't even have to speculate. We don't have to speculate about why they're treating Ukrainians so differently than refugees from Africa or from the Middle East. It's because the Prime Minister of Bulgaria, he came out and said it, right? He said, these are not the refugees we are used to. These people are Europeans. These people are intelligent. They are educated people. Yeah. It's a kind of a shocking thing to say. But at the same time, I will say, I'm impressed that the Prime Minister of Bulgaria has found the time to get to know all 1 million refugees that have fled Ukraine in the past week. He must be very efficient at making small talk. So where are you from? What you do? What you think? Aha, I like you. And please, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong here. I understand the arguments, right? I understand the arguments that these countries will make, right? That they have to think about how easy it is for refugees to integrate into their culture and society. I get that. I truly get that. It's just like it's easier for you to take in a family member who's in trouble than a random person who needs help. You know, like lots of kids got in one little fight with a couple of guys who were up to no good, but there's a reason Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv only took in Will. I get it. But it doesn't mean it's impossible. It doesn't mean it's impossible. And the problem I have is that when it's Syrians or Africans on a boat, these countries didn't even try to integrate them. They didn't even say women and children only. No, they reject even the chance that anyone brown could assimilate. Your skin is too dark. You couldn't possibly eat borscht. And I know right now there's somebody who's like, Trevor, again with the racism. What is it with black people and the racism? Always talking about race. You know, I go years at a time without even thinking about racism. It's easy. Why don't you try? Well, maybe the reason black people are always talking about racism is because racism is always happening to the black people. And we're seeing it again now in Ukraine.
African and Indian students stuck in Ukraine are accusing officials of discriminating against them and pushing them back from getting to the border.
This video posted to Twitter reads, "Watch how they are threatening to shoot us," saying they're at the Ukraine-Poland border. The police and army are refusing to let Africans cross. They only allow Ukrainians.
Foreign students who faced segregation and racism at the border crossing to Poland. Some say they were told they can't board buses there because they were meant for Ukrainians only.
Videos have been posted on social media said to show black people being prevented from boarding a train and left stranded at a railway station in Lviv as Ukrainians were allowed on.
One Congo native saying he was discriminated against while trying to board a train out of Ukraine.
They even told us, like, we are going to give you guns and you're going to fight for Ukraine. I said, hi, we're going to fight for Ukraine? We are not Ukrainian. We are black. So how can we fight? How can we fight for Ukraine?
Yeah, just think about this for a moment, huh? Black people, students, tourists, visitors, many of them are saying they cannot get out of the country. They can't get out because they're black. They just get blocked at the border. And for this guy, I mean, this is wild. Imagine being prevented from leaving the country. And not just that, but they say like, no, not only can you not leave, you have to grab a gun and fight. That is insane. People from other countries haven't been told that they have to fight. Why does he? Huh? The British person gets to go. The African guy, no, you're staying. We've watched Beasts of No Nation. We know you guys know how to handle yourselves. This is what you guys do. That's not fair, man. When you go to another country, you don't expect that they might be conscripting you into a war. You don't think you're going to be fighting in their army. Like, I'll tell you now, the Louvre would get a lot few visitors if they were like, oh, come and see the Mona Lisa, take a selfie with Venus. Maybe you fight for us in a war. Have you seen the pyramids? Welcome. It's extremely weird. It's extremely weird to ask some random African guy to fight for Ukraine. Why is that expected of him? Why can't he join the fight the way white people from other countries do? by posting an Insta story of the Ukrainian flag with a little heart emoji. I'm here for you, Ukraine. But that's not the point. The bigger point is that there seems to be a widespread discrimination against people of color who are trying to flee a war zone. And it's nuts. It's really nuts to see border guards suddenly turn into club bouncers. Everybody on the bus! Everybody on the bus! Oh, hold on. No hoodies, no sneakers. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the hot friend. Yeah, she can come on. Not to mention, it's gonna be super confusing for the Russian army when they roll into Kiev and then there's only black people left. Comrades, I think we took wrong turn somewhere. I told you, don't use Apple Maps, use Waze. And look, I know because of these stories, there are many Africans and many Middle Easterners who are seeing these videos and they're like, you know what? Screw Ukraine. If they're gonna be racist, Putin can take Ukraine and he can have Poland for desserts. For real, that's what a lot of people are saying. You can see it online. People are angry because they're like, how can you let racism get in the way of getting people out of the way of war? But I think rather than this being a moment to turn on each other, this refugee crisis should be a reminder that refugee is not a synonym for brown person. Anyone could become a refugee. It's a thing that happens to you. It's not who you are. And who knows? You know, maybe one day you might be a refugee. I hope it doesn't happen to you, but it could. And if God forbid that day comes, wouldn't you want someone without any prejudice in their heart to open their doors to you, to welcome you into their home, so that you can look around their house and say, thanks, I think I could do better.